It's been a few. I guess really yesterday as it went on. It's been working with Patrick and then working with Pat Brisson and trying to find a way that could accommodate him and what their wishes are. And obviously that's got to still they've got to put some work in on that. But that was really the only way that we were going to be able to do something on that end for Patrick. And I think everyone here knows how we feel about Patty Marleau and what he's done for our organization. So we felt it would. We were trying to do all that we could to help him. And in our situation with our cap, we didn't want to do one of those trades where it was moving a salary or a cap hit that was going to take anybody off our roster. So you start to look at your draft capital, and when you're talking about a 6.25 cap hit and $4 million in cash, you start to have to pay a hefty price, and that's what we've done today. But for Patty and for our current team, to not have to take anybody off the team and to accommodate the wishes of the Marleaus after all he's done for us, sometimes you do things like that, and that's how it all came together, Paul.
How did you decide that the first round pick was the right price?
You kind of gauge what the market wants in return for what you're trying to move on, and we've got a valuation system that we use, so we knew how much, and then it then becomes a different part, Jonas, which is do you value the cap space or do you value the actual cash? And in our business now, the way the economics are set up, you have to value both, and they usually aren't the same on contracts, the way that the contracts are structured with different teams. So it's trying to find that balance for what would be fair for the team that's acquiring him, and also trying to protect ourselves. There was a few teams in on the mix, and for us, we couldn't take anything back in terms of a salary back because of our situation, and wanted to protect ourselves, and we didn't want to give up any other younger players. In fact, we were trying to get them all signed. So that's how it all came together, and it's not perfect. There's no science that tells you how much they're worth, like in baseball, which would be great, but that's how it all came to be.
And this should help sign those players, right? I mean,
yeah, well, I think the key for us was, you hate to give up we didn't have a first round pick this year, and obviously now we don't have one next year. You hate to be in that position and put that type of pressure on your scouts and then your development people. But when making that call, we sat as a group and said, we could go that way and keep our picks, which are largely unknowns, or we could start to move players off our roster, which we really didn't want to do, especially with the quality of the young players that were being asked for in that exchange. So we in the end decided that the pick was the way to go.
How close are you then on tapping into the odds?
Yeah, we're very close. Brandon Pridham's done incredible work, and on their end with Kasperi, Marcus Lato, and Simon Ornan have been great, and then with Andreas Janssen, Jared Bouquet, and Patrick Aronson have been great, and especially this week trying to get things moved along and to a conclusion on them. So they're right at the finish line. We just have to punch them across, which will be nice. So.
Marner, is it 20-yard line?
With Mitch, I mean, like I said on Thursday, he's an incredible person and an incredible player for our team, and we're going to continue to work with Darren here to try to move it along, and I don't have much else to offer since Thursday, really, right? And we'll just as I said, keep working on it and hear back from Darren here, and then roll on.
Is Jake Gardner possible?
Those guys will be paid now, Captain Johnson.
Oh, I think, Chris, it's
the overall picture.
Yeah, it's vital. I mean, it's rather than just guessing and trying to have a framework or a ballpark and what type of years you're going to be on them to know right now in and about where they're going to land, save for a few more things that we need to finish off on, and Brandon will get that done with their people. It's a huge relief for us, and I think for us, knowing that they're locked in and not just on for 1 year, and that they're going to be a part of our group for a while, and they're big young pieces for us, so that's a big help. And
is Jake Gardner a possibility now?
We still don't have that amount of. But Jake, we love Jake. I know we talked to us at the year-end press conference as well. I mean, he's been unbelievable for our team. He's a huge part of having the team turn around. There've been a few guys that have been with the team from the days when the team was, when we first arrived, the first 2 years where we finished fourth last and last. And without those players and their contributions, Jake being a key one, team is not where it's at now in terms of competitiveness, and we would like to continue to keep that on the front burner, but until we solve Mitch's situation, it's impossible to engage with anybody.
There was some report.
there to come from Nikita?
Was Nikita Zaitsev? At this point, it's status quo. And the way that we look at it is, we're willing to try to, as I said in Buffalo at the Combine, we're willing to try to accommodate and work with him. But bluntly, but we need a similar player back. So until we can do that, we don't have the depth on D, and we don't want to rush our prospects. So that's what's been communicated to Dan Milstein.
I was just going to ask you, there was speculation about Subban and Kyle, so they're still on the market for a defenseman, regardless of what happens to Zaitsev?
Sure. Well, I think we're always trying to improve the group, and if we can improve our D, we will. I think our forward group is very good, but you're always trying to improve everything. So I think as it goes, and I understand what comes along with being in Toronto. I think everyone here is smart enough to know what our team needs. You guys watch the team and travel with them all year, so everyone has their opinion. It's well educated, and so whenever those types of players are available, I think it's always going to be drawn back to us to see where we're interested, and we'll always investigate things that can make us better.
Are you surprised to see him move today?
Was that to see him move?
Yeah, just how good he is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess lots. I mean, there's lots of good players that change teams. I wasn't stunned or surprised. There's very few players in the league, I guess, that I would be surprised if they moved. Maybe 10 or 15, and beyond that, maybe you're mildly shocked. But otherwise, it's just the way it is, especially with the cap not rising as much as was expected, and maybe depending on how you plan for that, you've got to rearrange and adjust.
So I think only one draft pick was moved across the league yesterday. Were you expecting the type of movement we saw today after teams got to go back and meet last night and sort of discuss things?
I mean, I don't know if this is fact or not. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. It always seems that there's more moves on the second day, where maybe it's not the Friday night portion of it. I think that can sometimes slow things down, especially in the back half or in the front part of the draft, where if you're going to move something, they're a little bit more tentative. But I wasn't surprised. It seemed like there were a ton of trades today, and there was a lot of activity around. It seemed like every single pick there for a stretch. So I guess it wasn't a surprise. No.
Kyle, with the possibility that the RFA's, well, not a possibility, the RFA speaking window will open on Wednesday.
Right.
Mitch may be getting calls from teams, which is within the rules. I mean, is that disconcerting, or maybe will actually help the process in terms of understanding the market?
Yeah, I don't know, Pierre. I mean, it's tough to say. I think and I think we go back again to where we were Thursday when we convened. There hasn't been a lot of movement on any of them. So I think there's a lot of curiosity around the league with so many RFAs that are unsigned. How is it going to affect the communication? What's the process going to be? Because with the quality of these players this year, and by and large, you look at all the different situations around the league. They're not just good players, but they seem to be great people, and they're so respected in their community. Not just Mitch with us. We know what he's about for us, but you go all throughout the league, and the teams that have those really good young players coming off entry level, they seem to be an important part of not only the team but the community. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all gets handled. There's not a real barometer. I don't think I think we look back and there's been one case where a Group 2 RFA with no arbitration rights visited other teams since 2008. So it's a little bit of a new world, and we'll see what happens.
Do you think there's reluctance to be the first guy to sign?
I don't know. Perhaps I think that's probably a better question for the players than for us. I know none of them have signed. I'm not sure exactly why. I mean, we're fortunate to be nearing a conclusion with two of our others, which is nice for us. And so I think as the draft passes here and we shift to this week, there's obviously going to have to be some sort of action and movement on a lot of fronts.
Through the process, we've kind of checked in with you on your level of optimism that things would be able to get done.
Sure.
Come to the draft and maybe the ball not being moved forward much. Where is your level of optimism that something will get done?
Well, I think I'm generally an optimistic person. You try to be realistic as well, and I think we want to, as I've said to a lot now, Ryan, we want to keep our young players as part of our team. So that's what we'll continue working towards that, and got some time here left. Obviously, you always hope that you don't go right down to the final hour. Seems to be a specialty of ours a little bit, but we'll try to avoid it this time.
Sometimes past it?
I don't think. Have we passed it yet? I don't know. We'll see. Not yet. I don't know. But we hope that it comes to a good conclusion for everybody, because I think that's what everybody wants in the end.
What are your thoughts on the players you guys drafted here?
Yeah, I thought, for one, I thought John Lilly was his first full season as our director of amateur scouting, and I thought he, along with Ari Vuri and Tim Speltz, they work so well together. And then we have Wes Clark and Dave Morrison and Jim Paliafito in our player personnel department that are working in lockstep with them, and I thought they worked very well. We have a real tight criteria in terms of the types of players that we're looking for and how we want to go about it, and so we were excited to add the types of guys that we did, and especially not having a first, you worry that it puts a little bit too much pressure on the scouts. We tried to relieve that by just saying, here are the types of guys we're looking for, and we were happy with what we came away with, for sure.
3 years ago, there seemed to be an emphasis on big defensemen. Here we are. Skill may be overtaking size, or do you go for what's available and try to get the best combination?
Yeah, we have our scouts. We have a very defined criteria that we want to draft from, and these are young guys, so you never know how much they're going to grow or if they're going to grow. But I think, as we all know, sitting around here, we're all not the same weight we were when we were 17, 18, and things change, sometimes mightily so. And we've got a good development program that can help our guys with their strength work. And Rich Rotenberg will immediately get his hands on these guys, and with Trevor St. Agatha in the weight room, and with their habits off the ice, and Scott Pellerin on the ice, and we'll be on our way. But we're excited about the group that we got, despite not having a first-round pick, and excited to start working with them here.
Kyle, can you talk a little bit about, we can look at numbers that Patty Marleau had for the last 2 years.
Right.
But the fingerprints that he left on the development, especially on Mitch and Austin, and how that intangible has helped your team.
Well, I think the one thing when we, I was in a different role when we signed Patrick, but I think it's almost impossible. You can see his statistics in terms of what he produced on the ice for his size, but when it comes to what he's done off the ice, that's really hard to quantify and really hard to do justice to. He was incredible for our young guys, especially as they were, entering their second year in the league, and our team was entering a different time in its existence. He was great in terms of dealing with me as I came into a role, going from assistant GM to GM. It just made life very easy for a lot of people around the team, both with his professionalism and how he handled himself day in and day out, and set a great example for all of our young players every single day. And it's we're happy for Patty. We're thrilled to have had him as part of our group. It was a great honor of ours to have him at Maple Leaf for 2 seasons, and the impact that he's had on the group will be felt for a long time.
What popped most with Robertson for you?
Pardon me?
What kind of popped most about Robertson for you in Washington?
Well, I think for me watching, we had Duraga Chinsev playing there, so we see them a lot, and I just think he's a very late birthday for this draft. I think he's September 11th, 2001, which is, he's a late birthday, and I think certainly his skill level is one, but I think his intelligence on the ice is another, and we just feel he has a chance in his commitment to hockey, his work ethic, learning about how much he loves the game, his passion for it. I think that's a good indication for us that he's going to put everything he can into improving, and he'll be close by. He's already, in getting to know him over the combine and today so far, seems like a guy that's going to be willing to put all the work in possible and add that to his skill set and intelligence that he already has, and so we're excited to work with him.